Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July 12th meeting of the Facilities Committee. I call the meeting to order. Everybody's here. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is discussion about the modified CIP. So we didn't get the amount of money that we wanted to get out of the CIP, and we had to cut what, 3.3 million? 3.3 million. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, that looks correct.
Okay.
Okay, Dave, I got, Dave, you can confirm, but I got 3.6 million. Did I
Yeah.
miscalculate?
Yes, you're taking into account Jay's stuff that's going to be not in here.
Okay.
So we had proposed the $3.6 million cut. So if that's not the number that we were supposed to target,
Yeah, I think the total
Is what?
15,862,036 is the total we were trying to get to.
Say it again.
15,862.
yeah, we were cutting 3 million.
I think in the future, the memo needs to provide all the information instead of us trying to figure this out on the fly. In the future, put that stuff like this needs to be in the cover letter.
Okay, let's get going.
Yeah, in the cover letter is 15,862,036.
We're talking about how much we cut.
How much to cut?
Not what the final number is, how much we.
So we cut $3,631,264.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's get started. Dave, does anyone have any questions of what's on here and how we're gonna do this? Do you want me to start?
I
Okay,
think staff should present their recommendation to the board.
me too. Dave?
All right, we'll go down the list. What we were able to do because of some recent bids was to fine tune some of the budgets, which is a great thing. It means no cuts there. Cuthbertson High School, we reduced that by $20,500 to reflect the bid. We are proposing to defer 5 vehicles from facilities. We are proposing at Hemby Bridge and a couple schools, you'll see where we've got gymnasium sound systems. So those schools have sound systems. They are working. We were proposing to replace them. They can be deferred for another year. Indian Trail, what we are proposing is it's a build and design a new front parking lot and rework the circulation. That's vehicular circulation at Indian Trail Elementary School. If you recall, we just did a earlier phase of this project, and that was relocating playground and drainage to the back of the school to make room for this. The design and agency approval on that really took a long time, especially the agency approval. So the thought was, hey, let's go ahead and do a design phase for this next phase. Get the surveys, get the agency reviews and approvals knocked out of the way that give us a great construction budget number for next CIP. So this is splitting this into 2 phases, a design and approval phase and a and a construction phase. So next year would be the construction phase for that project. I don't think we would lose much time on that. Indian Trail lighting, it was a lighting upgrade. The lighting there is fine. We were looking at future savings, going with LED lighting and recouping that investment, and hopefully in 3 years or so. But we can defer that. Indian Trail, replace the VCT, which is the tile floor, vinyl composition tile floor. That can be deferred. The Marvin Ridge High School, that was a painting bid. So in reflection to the bid, reduced that price to $260,000. Same with Marvin Ridge Middle School, reduced that to $190,000. That covers the bid. The Monroe High School, we had
that's good that the bids have come in, but we've had some that come in higher too, right?
That's right. Yeah, what you don't see.
Just so
is the-
people don't understand that we're getting lower bids than what our budget is.
That's right. Unfortunately, this is few. Yes, Miss Merrill.
Where's the list of everything you're rolling through so quickly?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's as far as it's the CIP, it's the PDF that you have. And I'm just highlighting what the changes.
I'm looking at the PDF in board docs. And did you redline what was cut so that we can see what your recommendation is? Because you're rolling through this really fast.
I'm sorry. And I know with board meetings, it's always, trying to be quick and trying not to take up too much.
But I don't know what your recommendation is. I hear what you're saying, but I don't see it on the CIP that we approved, and where's the red line so that we can see what the recommendation is, because I can't write fast enough to keep up with everything you're saying.
So if you look at the second to last column, it says revised proposed budget. So if there's zeros in there, then we took them out.
Okay, I don't see that on my board docs.
So there's columns, right? The last one is year. The one before that says revised proposed budget.
Madam Chair, you may try to share my screen
Agenda.
with that board doc.
Facilities. Maybe I've clicked on the wrong.
There is 2 documents.
Yeah, there's 2 documents. There's a memo, the cover letter, and then there is the proposed CIP that already has reached 15.8 million, but I don't see what he cut out of it.
The very last column is your year, and right before that is your revised budget price.
Okay, so it's not red line. Okay.
It has a zero.
Look for the zeros.
Okay,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. Let's walk through it, Melissa. I can tell you because I highlighted it. So in facilities, we got rid of 5 vehicles.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Right. We got rid of heavy.
So I was looking for a red line. I apologize. I don't print a lot of paper because I don't like cutting down trees. But okay, so I look for zeros. I try not to print all this stuff.
And the only other difference would be the Indian Trail, where Dave was talking about the front parking lot. It went from 1.1 million to 120 because all we're doing is the design of it.
Yeah, it looks like we skipped over Hemby Bridge.
Oh, I said that, sorry, gymnasium.
Okay.
And we did that for another school too, got rid of that. Then the next one would be Indian Trail. They took out the lighting and the BCT replace. And then you go down to Monroe High School. We got rid of renovate auxiliary gym. And then the next one is Parkwood High, the flooring replacement. And then Parkwood Middle, I didn't understand that one, Dave, the replacement flooring throughout. Is that a design or what? How did it go from 192 to 36.3?
We haven't gotten that
It's
far
just-
yet.
What?
We haven't gotten that far yet. So we had stopped at Monroe High School.
Well, I think Ms. Hines will just clarify.
I'm just
she went
telling
through
Miss
and-
Merrill and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what Parkwood Middle School replaced flooring throughout, that changed to do the flooring at the 400 building was the highest priority on that. And with a lot of the HVAC work and ceiling work and lighting replacement that's going on at Parkwood Middle with a different contractor, didn't want to have issues there with multiple contractors. And too much work going on as people are trying to be in the same space.
Okay. Let's go. Okay. What's next?
So we were at, so you mentioned Monroe High School. That's one that we are planning to defer. And New Salem, that's repave the outdoor track. That's one that's reflected of an actual bid. So that was a slight savings there. Parkwood High School replaced the flooring at the 200, 400, several buildings with abatement. Again, that's one that we thought we could defer to another year. We just talked about Parkwood Middle School. PDC was a scope reduction. It was based on the previous job at Media Technology. So felt like we did not have to replace the ductwork. So that's a reduction from $825,000 to $625,000. So the proposed scope and budget is $625,000. Porterage Elementary School, again, that's a sound system item that we feel that can be deferred to the next year. So that's $10,000 down to zero. Shiloh Valley Elementary School, we're replacing the tile and plumbing fixtures in the original restrooms. That's what we're doing at Hvac Elementary School right now. Those are primarily cosmetic or aesthetic items that can be deferred. Sun Valley High School, we've got 2 scoreboards that we did want to replace. Electronics folks are saying we can wait till next year. Sun Valley Middle School repaved the bus parking lot, talked with their grounds folks. They feel that is doesn't look good, but it's cosmetic. They feel that can be deferred. Transportation, that's one item that we want to handle that with the bond sales tax reimbursements.
Perfect.
And so we can take it off the CIP and handle that with another funding source.
Okay.
Union Elementary School, repave front parking lot and repair drainage. Again, our drainage or grounds folks feel that can be deferred to the following year. Replace barge units in our mobile classrooms. We just reduced that by a unit. So that's down to from 77,000 down to 67,136. Inspect and remove chimneys at various schools. We had 2 budgeted. We're just going to do 1. So that goes from $60,500 to $45,000 with a little bit of contingency in there. And Weddington Middle was another gym sound system that we can defer to the following year.
Okay. So I guess the thing that I would like to talk about is that, so if you go to Parkwood Middle School, we're spending $3.1 million to do the HVAC, the ceiling tile grids and lighting replacement. We've talked about this for 5 years, I think. So I'm good with that. The reconfigure the pod, $900. I think that, so it's only one of 3. We have 2 other middle schools that are exactly the same. And I know that we're trying to upgrade or update the older schools, but I think for this year, it might be better to use the $900,000 for other things. I guess here's a question about Parkwood Middle. when would we would do it next summer? Is that the idea? If we reconfigured the pod?
So it would follow in behind the HVAC ceiling and lighting work that's going on. The way we're doing that work, it's being sequenced so that we are moving out of a pod during that work, moving students back in, and then go to the next pod, do ceilings, HVAC, lighting in that pod, complete it, move out. Then we would move into the pod that's going to be reconfigured.
Okay, would there be any time where the kids won't be able to be in classrooms?
No, they're all accounted for. They all have classrooms to go to. So the work would start, we
The
expect
work
that
would
we'll have,
be over the summer when no one's there, and it would be
No.
ready?
this work is going to, the long lead items that we have for equipment on HVAC is such that that work is going to start in the fall in the first pod. It'll be completing around if I remember correctly, around December. Then January would be the next pod, January to March. And then after that the third pod would be after that.
That's the HV. I'm talking about the classrooms themselves. So 3 classrooms in a pod, right? So what, because we're using the one that only has 3, right?
So there's
6.
8 classrooms in a pod.
7. Yeah, okay. So where are these kids going to go if the classrooms aren't done? That's what I'm asking.
Right. So Parkwood Middle School is not fully utilized. It's in the 80%, 80s, maybe 82, 83% utilized from my memory. So there's room for them to relocate and for us to be able to do this work.
Okay. 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 So I guess in my book, we could try to do this reconfiguring the pod, because that was what we put it in there for, to see what one would look like and what it would take to do it. Or we could put some other projects back in. And I guess that's the only thing those are the only question I have.
What is the time frame to reconfigure a pod? Like, how long does that take?
Is it
And
6 months? Is it 5 months? Is it?
Right.
Yeah, we do expect that in the April timeframe that we would be able to get into this third pod and reconfigure it, and that it would be up and ready to go before school started in August.
So we're going to move the kids in April to different classrooms?
Unfortunately, at Parkwood Middle School, to do all the other work, we're going to, first pod we have to move out of, so they will do that then. We move back into that first pod. Second pod we move out of, we do that HVAC ceiling lighting work, move back in. Third pod we move out of, do reconfigure HVAC ceilings, lightings, floors, move back in. So it's all sequenced to happen that way.
So you're not going to be able to do that for Piedmont Middle School and Sun Valley Middle School because their capacity is higher than Parkwood. So then what will we do so we're just going to do Parkwood Middle School because we don't have okay, so how does that work?
So for those schools, again, these schools are 47 years old, and I'm not aware of a renovation, but so the easy way to handle that is that we put mobile units there and accommodate any kind of shift that we need with additional mobile units at those other schools.
Okay, so Sun Valley Middle School already has 9 MCRs, and I don't know where you could possibly put more MCRs on their property. So what do you do with that? And they already use the 9 MCRs, right? I think 5 of them are for classrooms.
Yeah, I'd have to look at both Piedmont and at Sun Valley, look at their utilizations, how they're using those mobile classrooms, and see what the options are.
My memory is correct, from many other conversations in the past. Renovating, redesigning these pods reduces capacity.
Correct.
And the only reason that worked at Parkwood is because they're only at like 80% capacity.
So we had several
So-
options. Sorry.
That's okay. So this pilot program for almost $1 million potentially would not work at Sun Valley or Piedmont because we cannot reduce their capacity, correct?
So the pilot at Parkwood, the option that was finally decided on is 8 classrooms for 8 classrooms. So we're replacing, it's a 1-for-1 replacement.
But
I
you
remember you
did tell
telling
us,
us it would reduce the capacity.
you did.
That would not reduce the capacity.
When did that change?
The last, I would say maybe a month ago, when we worked with the school on which layout, worked best. There was different configurations, different size, classrooms. The one that
So
was
why does
settled on was-
Parkwood need more capacity? Or the same capacity?
Right, it just simply was not reducing their capacity. So they went with a configuration
Right.
that was 8 classrooms. So it's an internal, there's an internal circulation. So there's a new internal corridor. So you don't have to go outside to access half the classrooms.
Okay,
And,
there is a bunch of new neighborhoods that are going to be going to Parkwood. So I'm going to say that while it's
Okay.
80% now, in 5 years, that will not be there.
Yeah, and that's an extremely valid point. It's just clearly information has changed and we just didn't know.
Yeah, I
it.
didn't know that either. So,
Right, me neither.
okay, so what do we want to do? Do we want to go ahead with this, or this whole thing was to do one, to see how it goes, and let's see what we can do with it.
In my opinion, I think we could put a lot more projects back on immediately and just postpone this one for a short period of time, because this would kind of interrupt the EOGs in May with, changing classrooms in April. And, a lot's going to happen in December. And if we're able to get back to a bifurcated budget and getting, true up dollars in the future, we could potentially do more than one pod. Or, we could get this back on quickly, I think, for early next summer. So, that's just my 2 cents, but, surely, I would love to hear what Matt and Sarah think. But if we get back to a bifurcated budget, projects like these pods could be taken care of.
Well, my only question would be, Dave, I think you were mentioning something about how you're coordinating the ceiling tiles and the other projects with, if we're potentially going to redo this. Could we time it so that that last pod, which is the one we'd like to, for next year, redo, we do that at the end and somehow it would still work in conjunction if next year we can do that reconfiguration?
if we want to wait until June, to start construction, we can make that happen. The only loss, would be if the contractors that are there on site now were to get that next bid. They might finish the job, have to leave, go somewhere else, and then come back. That's not that big of a deal. It is a little bit of a cost savings opportunity for us, but if it's the difference between doing the project and not doing the project, of course, we'd say we'll wait till June if that's the preference.
So
I
the
just-
same contractor was going to reconfigure the pod also?
They have to, it's going to be designed and bid. It's actually being designed. The board has already approved the design of it, and so that's underway. So we would be going out to bid if this item is in the budget.
So okay, if we were to, Matt, I'll let you speak first, and then I have a question.
I just really had the question if the same contractor would be doing the work.
I
And
know.
we mentioned they were going to be on site. That's an issue there.
What are the chances they're going to get up in those ceilings and everything, and their project's going to get delayed a month or two anyway? And I'm looking at all these zero projects that could be put back on the schedule. I mean, what are the chances that contractor could get delayed a month or so anyway?
We've already factored in some contingencies time-wise.
So Matt, would you prefer doing the pod and see where we can get with it, or use the money for something else?
I'm kind of torn on this one.
I know.
I'd like to see the pod done, but I mean, I guess it depends on how the contract or the contract with the contractor is going to be written. If they're going to be there on the same time. And there's the
And once we
EOG.
do all this stuff, yeah. So we've already spent some money for design and all that, right? Correct, that's what I thought.
I mean, unless the design changes, that would
Right, it's still good, yep,
Yeah.
no, I know.
And the
And
other
apparently the
report-
design has changed and we haven't even seen it.
I'm kind of torn too. Do we do the other projects or do we do this? Because it would be good to do it at the same time as the HVAC and the panels, the ceilings and all that kind of stuff.
Have we already put out to bid all the 3 million and change? No, right?
No,
there any
that
chance-
also,
I mean,
That-
if there was savings from that, I know we have to ask, but
right. So the other half of the HVAC ceiling and lighting, is being designed and going out to bid. So we would package the pod with that scope, and they bid together.
Mhm.
And the design is just for one pod, correct?
Yes,
So, yeah, the design of the pod reconfiguration is for one pod. The HVAC work is for that one pod, ceilings, lightings, and other areas of the school as well.
okay,
This was a very complicated project on the HVAC, ceiling and lighting, and that's why it was broken into two different phases, because again, with how volatile the bid market is and availability of materials, and how many summers it was going to take, we just thought we'd simplify it and break it into two.
So Dave, and board members, just to give you my 2 cents. If it's complicated for facilities, it's going to be complicated for the school. And, one of my concerns is this is a lot of moving parts during the school year that will impact students and teachers and classrooms. So I think the other benefit of deferring, if that's what you all want to do, it gives the time for a little bit more planning and preparation to see how we would do this at a Piedmont and a Sun Valley. Because the ultimate goal, and one of the goals, in my opinion, of doing a pilot is then to figure out how to scale that out in other schools. And right now with Sun Valley and Piedmont, I don't know if we can answer that question. So I'd hate to go down this road and then not have a solution in a year that we can turn this or flip it around.
so what Dave is saying though, and again, I can go either way on this, the $3.1 million for the ceilings and all that, if we do that at Piedmont, we cannot do, we are going to redoing stuff to do the reconfiguring the pod. It has to go together, not correct, Dave? Yeah. So we have to make a decision if we're gonna do the HVAC, which we have to do, and the tiles and the ceilings and all that, we have to do it at the same time.
How long are they going to be out of the pod just for the HVAC and the tile work?
If I remember correctly, it was in the neighborhood of 3 months each.
Wow.
So Dave, I don't know if you can do this on your spreadsheet or not, but it looks like about 17 projects have been removed based on the county's cuts.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't include the 5 vehicles and don't factor in Parkwood, the 900,000 for the pod, what do the other zeros total that we would not be able to get to because of the pod? And don't take into consideration the 5 vehicles.
Okay, let me make sure I got it right. So keep the 5 vehicles as deferred, and what were the other items?
I want to know what the other 12 zeros total, but not the 900,000. I mean, don't include the 900,000 in that total.
Okay, y'all talk about something else for a while.
Oh,
No, wait, no, I
that
don't.
takes a long time.
No, wait, what are you asking? So
I want to know.
Go ahead.
I want to know what the other projects total in lieu of spending 900,000 on a pilot that's going to move children around the whole school year.
So we cut 3.6 million. If we don't do the 900,000, then we're down to 2.5 million that we've cut.
And then take out the vehicles.
Oh, take them out?
We'll keep them deferred. I'm trying to figure out.
So I think I know what you're figuring out. So if I had $900,000,
what projects could we do in lieu of the 900,000?
That's exactly what so I looked at that because I was looking, I'm kind of on I don't know which way to go on the pod thing. I would put, and Dave may disagree with me, I would put the Indian Trail lighting for $385,000 back in. Parkwood High School flooring, because we don't have anything for Parkwood High School. And it seems like, I don't know if we're going to get a bond anytime soon to do something to Parkwood High School, and the flooring in there is terrible. Shiloh Elementary has the same issue as Hvac Elementary about the bathrooms being original. So that would be nice to do. And that gets you pretty, and of course I added Sun Valley's $15,000 scoreboard. That gets you to $857,000, and then you can put one more vehicle in.
So it's about 5 projects or 5 other schools.
It would be 4 schools and a vehicle.
So question 2 of Parkwood Middle,
The
$3,080,000 for the HVAC, ceiling tiles, and lighting replacement.
Yep.
That includes the reconfigured pod also, correct?
No, it should not say and reconfigure.
Well, no, I mean, does that, the lighting, well, I guess what I'm asking, does that include the lighting, ceiling tile, and everything for that reconfigured pod?
Yes.
So it's 400.
So you get, well,
it's $4 million for everything. Yep.
And we're going to be moving kids around anyway with ceiling tiles and HVAC work.
Yeah.
So if we deferred that, I guess what are we really saving for? We're saving 909,000, but
Yeah, but
With
I think,
these-
But we're
Mr. Hayes.
touching 5 more schools.
Yeah,
But if we're doing it and moving all the kids, I see what you're saying, Matt. We might as well go ahead and do it. Is that what you're saying?
if we're doing it, I mean,
Right.
we got the first pod, we're gonna move the kids, bring them back in, move the kids out of the second pod, bring them back in. Then we got the third pod, which is gonna be sitting there for a while until next year possibly, and then bring the contractor back in to reconfigure it.
Did we ever think about doing all of this over the summer instead of like throughout the entire school year where they're out of the class for 3 months? I mean, that's a lot of movement.
The summers
sure
aren't long
is.
enough.
A lot of disruption.
Yeah, the summers aren't long enough. We couldn't do the HVAC project by itself in the summer.
Okay.
Wow.
I
So I
think-
added up those items, there's 15 items. And I got 3.986 500. So that what I kept was I did not do the 5 vehicles. At least I don't believe I did the 5 vehicles. I did the sound system at Henby Bridge. I put the Indian Trail parking lot back in. I put the lighting upgrade back in. I put the Monroe High School back in.
Wait, why are we putting all this back in?
Well, I was, as far as Miss Merrill's question, as far as all those, trying to add up the items that she wanted.
Did you say you got 3.986?
That's what I said.
Because aren't we at 3,631? Isn't that what we said?
Was
Yeah,
Yeah,
3.6
that's what we-
million.
Yeah. So where's the 3.9?
I think he was adding up the items that I asked him to add up.
That's right.
Okay.
Can I just throw this out? What if we, can't believe I'm actually saying this. The HVAC ceiling tile replacement, lighting, and the pod, we defer all that for 1 year. That would save almost $4 million.
But we're just kicking.
We're
just
kicking it down
the
one more
ball out
year,
the
but yeah.
road every year. This is like the 5th year we've done this.
Yeah.
If I could
Thanks,
say
thanks
also,
to the county. I mean, let's
I
be
understand.
honest, the county cut our budget. $11 million and 4 out of capital.
if I could add this point, as far as Parkwood Middle School, it is unique in that its HVAC system is problematic. So we have some issues there that we definitely need to address. And so we're already addressing part of that in this budget is to complete the other problem areas. So we would certainly want to be able to keep going with the ceilings, the lighting, and the HVAC regardless at Parkwood.
Okay.
Okay. So can I ask a question of us? Is everyone good with leaving in the HVAC projects and the tiling grids in the lighting in the main building?
Mhm.
Okay, Matt, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah,
Yes. We don't
Okay.
want to mess around with AC not working.
let's leave that go.
Yeah.
So the question we're dealing with is, do we do the reconfigure pod or not? That's what we're down to.
If I could offer something, if we're going to look at maybe reconfiguring the pod, if we're out there disrupting the students at Parkwood Middle and we need to for the HVAC,
We might
I
as
would
well.
hate to stop and then get everything back in order and then come back a year later and say, oh, by the way, we're going to reconfigure a pod and so we're going to disrupt you again. In my mind, you'd want to do the construction, just start biting the elephant and finish eating it before you leave and come back. I think we may have more disruption, but I think you at least get the disruption all at one time instead of in bits and pieces.
Okay,
If that makes any sense.
okay. So does anyone want to make a motion to do something? Do we want to go with what we have here? Matt, Melissa, Sarah?
At this point in time, I'm not in favor of removing Hemby Bridge, Indian Trail, Parkwood High School, Shiloh, Waxhaw, or even Sun Valley High School. I don't feel comfortable with kicking them to the curb.
So you're talking about the items that I listed, correct?
Well, you didn't mention Hemby Bridge. I think you were going to do a vehicle, and I would rather do Hemby Bridge.
Well, but then there's another school that we didn't do that. So we would have to do the other school too. And where is it? We took 2 of them off. Okay, Weddington Middle School, we took off.
But I think Hemby is cheaper than a vehicle.
Yes, I'm saying
Yeah.
that we should do all the schools
Yeah.
that
I agree.
sound, yeah. Porter Ridge Elementary, Melissa, was the other one.
So just to help you with the vehicles, we have a rating system with our vehicles. It's a combination of repair cost and age and mileage. The ones that we had proposed to defer, were the ones that, of course, were the better vehicles. They had the either the lower mileage, the lower repair costs, whatever. So in our rating systems, we took the top ones off. And just again, we feel that those can make it. We do appreciate the board's efforts in the past several years to help get us out of the hole that we were definitely in, and the board's done a great job with helping in that regard.
Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we defer the pod pilot program at Parkwood Middle School till and put back in Hemby Bridge, Weddington Middle, Porter Ridge Elementary, Indian Trail, Parkwood High School flooring, Shiloh, Waxhaw, and maybe even the Sun Valley High School projects in lieu of the pod.
That works.
Second.
Monetarily, it works.
If I can mention, you mentioned Waxhaw.
No, Waxhaw is not on here. She's just talking, what Melissa was saying was,
Kathy had listed Waxhaw, so I wrote it down.
no, Waxhaw, I was just saying that it's the same thing as Shiloh. Waxhaw is already doing their bathrooms.
Okay.
They're not on here, sorry.
Okay.
So what we're saying is put in Porter Ridge Elementary, Hemby Bridge Elementary, Weddington Middle for the gymnasium sound system, which is about $32,000. And then Indian Trail, $385,000 for lighting. Parkwood High School, $203,000 for flooring. Shiloh Elementary, $253,000 for bathroom, and Sun Valley High School for $15,000 for a scoreboard.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Matt, okay, 4-0. Okay, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thanks. Okay.